Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Here, we embrace true femininity. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update.
With my mom as my superior, I am constantly reminded that I must obey her every command. Today, she has decided to transform me into a pretty sissy, and I have no choice but to comply. As I stood in front of the mirror, my heart raced with both excitement and trepidation. My mother's words echoed in my mind, her stern voice commanding me to become the pretty sissy she envisioned. I had always been a dutiful son, obedient to her every whim, but this request was unlike any other. Taking a deep breath, I glanced at the array of feminine garments laid out on the bed behind me. Delicate lace panties, frilly skirts, and silky stockings beckoned me towards a world I had never explored before. The thought of embracing my femininity both terrified and thrilled me. With trembling hands, I reached for the first item, a pair of pink satin panties. As I slipped them on, a rush of forbidden pleasure coursed through me. The smooth fabric hugged my skin, making me acutely aware of my newfound vulnerability. Each article of clothing became an intimate brush with femininity, erasing the boundaries I had known all my life. As I examined my reflection, a stranger stared back at me. Soft waves of hair cascaded down my shoulders, framing a face adorned with carefully applied makeup. My lips were painted a shade of rosy pink that somehow managed to enhance both my features and my insecurities. My mind grappled with conflicting emotions as I transformed more and more into the pretty sissy my mother desired. Part of me recoiled from this unfamiliar image, fearing the judgment and scrutiny that awaited me beyond the confines of our home. But another part relished in the liberation this transformation brought, a chance to explore hidden desires and embrace a side of myself that longed to be set free. Stepping into the kitchen, I found my mother waiting for me, a smile playing at the corners of her crimson lips. Her eyes glimmered with a mix of satisfaction and anticipation as she took in my transformation. A surge of vulnerability washed over me, but I knew there was no turning back now. Well, she purred, her voice laced with approval. Look at my pretty sissy. Simply stunning. Her words sent a shiver down my spine, both from the thrill of her praise and the undeniable power she held over me. My mother had always been a commanding presence, but seeing her revel in my newfound femininity ignited desires within me that I never knew existed. As she approached me, she extended a perfectly manicured hand to cup my cheek. Her touch was gentle yet possessive, leaving no doubt that I belonged to her in this moment. The scent of her perfume enveloped me, intoxicating and seductive. Now, my dear, she whispered, her breath warm against my ear. Let us explore the depths of your femininity together. Her words filled me with a mix of nervous anticipation and an insatiable hunger for more. I had always admired the way she carried herself with confidence and grace, but now I yearned for her guidance, her expertise in navigating this uncharted territory. She led me to a plush armchair in the corner of the room, adorned with silk cushions that matched the delicate lingerie I wore underneath my dress. Sitting down gracefully, she crossed one leg over the other and motioned for me to approach. Kneel before me, she commanded firmly. Without hesitation, I sank to my knees before her, head bowed in submission. My heart raced as I awaited her next instruction, my senses heightened by the tension that hung in the air. Such a good sissy, she murmured, her voice filled with satisfaction. Now, it's time for your first lesson. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as she reached down, her delicate hand cupping my chin and tilting my face up to meet her gaze. In her eyes, I saw a potent blend of dominance and affection, a cocktail that left me intoxicated and eager to please. Every pretty sissy needs to learn how to please, she continued, her tone low and seductive. And today, you shall learn the art of pleasuring a woman. My breath hitched at her words, the implications of what she was saying sinking in. A surge of desire coursed through me, igniting a fire deep within. The prospect of exploring this aspect of femininity alongside my mother both terrified and excited me beyond measure. Her fingers trailed along my jawline, leaving trails of electricity in their wake. "Remember," she whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your pleasure comes from pleasuring others." I nodded, the weight of her words settling on my shoulders like a vow. I was hers to mold and shape, to guide me down this path towards self-discovery and fulfillment. She leaned forward, allowing her lips to brush against mine in a teasing kiss that left me craving more. "Let's begin," she said huskily. And so, under the watchful eye of my superior mother, I embarked on a journey of sensual exploration that would forever alter the course of my life. With each touch, caress, and whispered instruction, I surrendered myself to her guidance, eager to absorb every lesson she bestowed upon me. Time seemed to blur as we delved deeper into my education as a pretty sissy. My mother's hands, skilled and confident, mapped the contours of my body, igniting pleasure that I had only dreamt of in secret. She taught me how to use my mouth to leave a lasting impression on a woman's flesh, how to tease and taste until she quivered with desire. Under her tutelage, I discovered hidden depths within myself, desires and cravings that I had repressed for far too long. She encouraged me to embrace my submissive nature, instilling in me the belief that there was strength in surrendering to the desires of another. And through it all, she reveled in my obedience, feeding off the power exchange between us. I was then asked to lick her toes clean. I hesitated for a moment, my mind racing with a mixture of curiosity and unease. Licking my mother's toes clean was a new level of intimacy, one that stretched the boundaries of our complex relationship. But the desire to please her, to fully embrace my role as her pretty sissy, overpowered any doubts that lingered within me. With a deep breath, I lowered myself to the ground and positioned myself at her feet. The anticipation in the air was palpable as she lifted her foot, presenting it to me, her toes painted a deep shade of red, perfectly pedicured. "Show me what a good sissy you can be," she murmured, her voice silky with authority. Gently, I extended my tongue and pressed it against the arch of her foot. The taste of the lotion she had applied mingled with the faint saltiness of her skin, creating an intoxicating blend that filled my senses. As I moved my tongue along each toe, swirling and caressing, her soft sighs of pleasure filled the room. My own pleasure ignited as I surrendered to this act of submission. It was more than just fulfilling my mother's desires, it was about connecting with her on a profound level, giving myself over entirely to her control. With each delicate lick and tender kiss, I felt our bond deepen, solidifying our roles in this unique dance of dominance and submission. Time seemed to lose all meaning as I focused solely on pleasuring her. My mouth became an instrument of worship, amplifying each moan and gasp that escaped her lips. The taste of her skin lingered on my tongue. As I continued to lavish attention on her toes, each stroke of my tongue felt like a caress, a tender act of devotion that bound us closer together. Her breathing grew heavier, an indication of the pleasure she derived from my ministrations. She leaned back in the armchair, her eyes closed in blissful surrender, as I continued to explore and worship her feet. The silky fabric of her dress rustled softly with each movement, adding a symphony of sound to our intimate ballet. As my mouth traveled up her leg, leaving a trail of delicate kisses in its wake, I felt a surge of confidence and power. My transformation into her pretty sissy had unlocked something within me, an unyielding desire to please and to be pleasing. And with each whispered encouragement and sigh of delight from my mother, that desire grew stronger, fueling my every action. Finally, I reached the apex of her thigh, a place where desire and vulnerability intertwined. With trembling hands, I pushed aside the fabric of her dress, exposing her most intimate self to my hungry gaze. The sight of her flushed skin and glistening folds sent a jolt of electricity through me, an undeniable hunger to explore every inch of her. She arched her back, inviting me closer. Her voice, thick with desire and command, urged me on. "Taste me," she breathed. Without hesitation, I lowered my head between her legs and let my tongue trace a path along her slick heat. The taste of her essence flooded my senses, a heady mixture of sweetness and musk that left me intoxicated with craving. I delved deeper, exploring every fold and crevice with precision. Finally, as the day came to an end, she was satisfied and now asked me to get back up on my feet. I complied, slowly rising from my kneeling position, my body tingling with a mix of satisfaction and exhaustion. My mother looked at me with a proud smile, her eyes sparkling with a newfound admiration. "Good girl," she whispered, her voice filled with genuine affection. "You're learning so quickly." A surge of warmth filled my chest, pride mingling with the submissive fulfillment that coursed through my veins. Being able to please her, to bring her pleasure and explore our most intimate desires together was a gift like no other. She reached out, allowing her fingers to gently trace the curve of my cheek. "Tonight was just the beginning," she murmured, her voice laced with anticipation. "There is so much more for us to explore." I nodded, my heart pounding in agreement. This journey of sensual exploration had become an integral part of who I was now, a pretty sissy eager to discover new heights of pleasure under the guidance of my loving and dominant mother. As we stood there, basking in the afterglow of our intimate encounter, a newfound sense of closeness enveloped us. The bond between us had deepened beyond measure, transcending societal norms and expectations. In this secret world we created, our desires were celebrated, and our love took on a form that others could never understand. The night beckoned with limitless possibilities as we embraced the path we had forged together. And as we walked hand in hand towards our future of exploration and self-discovery, I knew that my mother's guidance would continue to shape me into the confident and fulfilled sissy I was destined to become.